Today on Sports Central, we'll be going over our next scheduled preview this offseason, and it will be over the Arizona State Sun Devils. And this was a team that went 8-5 in the 2019 season. And overall, it was a great season for Arizona State, being able to make a bowl game and get past that as well, getting up to 8 wins. But how will they do in 2020 is what we're going over here today. We'll be going over a few players that this team will be losing, who they're going to be returning, and also going over their schedule for the first time this offseason. Starting off with the games that Arizona State has had since November. We'll start off on November 9th when they played USC. That was a home game. They got the loss there. 26-31, but certainly last season USC was a great team, so it really was not all that bad of a loss there. However, that loss to Oregon State, they certainly should have won that one, and if they would have won, that would actually led Arizona State to a 9-win season likely. But yeah, they lost that one by 34-35, so that was a tough loss there in Corvallis. And they won against Oregon 31-28 the next week. That was a huge win, definitely the signature win of the season for Arizona State. And of course, if you consider Oregon, it would have made the Pac-12 look good if Arizona State would have lost that game. Because certainly, if Oregon would have won that one, I'm sure that they would have gone on to the College Football Playoff. Of course, if you know, they won the Pac-12 last season. So, yeah, that certainly would have been a huge possibility. However, the next week, they got another win over Arizona, 24-14. So, overall, they ended off the regular season really on a high note, and then they beat Florida State 20-14 on New Year's Eve. So, yeah, overall, great end of the season for Arizona State. Great season in general for this team. Once again, going 8-5 was certainly a great way to have your season. As far as the trends go, between September and October, this team was 5-3. Then between November and the postseason, they were 3-2. So, yeah, they stayed the same throughout the majority of the season. No major improvement and no major decline. Moving on to your returning production for Arizona State, they returned their starting quarterback, Jayden Daniels, and he was a major impact for this team last season. His touchdown interception ratio was actually insane. He had 17 touchdowns with only 2 interceptions. That's typically out of most great quarterbacks. You'll see them get at least 3 to 4 interceptions. For Jayden Daniels, he only had 2 last season, so that is extremely impressive. He also had 3,000 yards to go with that, with 17 touchdowns. So I'm sure he definitely could be a big quarterback in the upcoming NFL draft if he is able to stay healthy and has another great season. I wouldn't be surprised to hear some talk on that. But yeah, they do lose their top running back in Eno Benjamin, which he was a big player for this team, probably the biggest loss that Arizona State's going to have going into 2020. He had over 1,400 yards with 12 touchdowns last season. And the main returning running back for this team is going to be A.J. Carter, which he did not have a whole lot of time last season. He had only 75 yards over the entire season. But yeah, he's going to be your top returning running back. So this running back core does look to be a bit inexperienced heading into 2020, so that is a bit of a concern for me. Considering Eno Benjamin, and he was a really great running back last season. Once again, putting over 1,400 yards up with 12 touchdowns, very impressive. They also lose their top wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk, and he was a great wide receiver. Definitely one of the best in the Pac-12, if not the best. He had right around 1,200 yards of offense with 8 touchdowns last season. He actually went in the first round of this NFL draft that was a couple weeks ago. So, yeah, definitely, he was a great wide receiver, one of the best in the nation last season. They also returned their second wide receiver in Frank Darby, so he's going to be the main receiver that's going to be returning for Arizona State heading into 2020. He had just over 600 yards with 8 touchdowns last season. They do lose their third wide receiver in Kyle Williams, though, so you do got to worry about that a little bit. He had just over 500 yards with 2 touchdowns last season, so yeah, the wide receiver core takes a couple of major hits. Definitely the running back core is something to be concerned about as well. But at least they return a great quarterback in Jayden Daniels. Certainly he looks to have a great season in 2020, considering the great stats that he put up last season. They do lose 1 offensive lineman, 1 defensive lineman, as well as 1 linebacker with 2 in the secondary. So they've got an average amount of loss as far as the defense goes. So that puts up the question, is Arizona State a dark horse heading into 2020? And to that, it's really tough to say right now. Of course, when you lose your top running back and your top wide receiver, it is tough to say whether or not Arizona State could win their division next season. Arizona State definitely is a team that should make a bowl game next season. I don't think they'll have much of a problem with that. But yeah, as far as being a dark horse goes, I think Arizona State's a great team, but I'm not quite sure that they're Pac-12 championship potential going into next season. Once again, when you lose Eno Benjamin and Brandon Ayuk, 2 really great players, especially Ayuk, who went in the first round of the NFL draft a couple weeks ago. And yeah, it's going to be tough for Arizona State to be able to reach that potential, but I do expect them to have a great season. I don't expect them to flop by any means, but yeah, for Arizona State, I do expect them to have a great season. Once again, I just don't think that they'll be able to win the division quite yet. But yeah, once again, still a great season coming up. Looking at your schedule, you start the season on September 3rd with Northern Arizona. That should be a very winnable game there. You also got UNLV on the 12th, which they're probably one of the worst teams in their division. They've actually had A really tough go at it over the past few years. Then they got BYU on the 19th, followed by USC on the road on the 26th. In October, you got Oregon State, UCLA, Colorado, and Washington State in that order, with the road games being the last 2 ones of the month with Colorado and then Washington State. As far as November goes, you got California, Oregon, Utah, and then Arizona. So you have 4 state teams. Then your home games there will be California and then Utah. So yeah, for Arizona State, it's not too difficult of a schedule. Of course, it's good that you got Oregon State at home. You got, of course, Utah at home as well. So yeah, 2 of your tougher games, which I do expect Oregon State to be a good team next season, will be at home. So that's good. That Oregon game on the road on the 13th of November is going to be a bit of a tough one, especially I'm sure Oregon's going to be fired up after they had that loss last season against Arizona State. So you got to watch out for that one. Colorado and Washington State could be tougher games. But nonetheless, here's what I'm expecting. I'll give you 3 guaranteed wins: Northern Arizona, UNLV, and UCLA. Those will be your 3 guaranteed ones. And once again, we don't go over every game in our schedule previews. We'll be doing that in our final predictions coming out in a month. But yeah, your record estimation for Arizona State, 6-6 to 8-4. Once again, I expect them to make a bowl game, no problem. The big question here is going to be how much further they can get past that 6-win threshold, which I don't expect them to do anything crazy. I don't think they'll get to 9 wins, but yeah, 6-6 to 8-4 still would be a great season for Arizona State, no matter what. So yeah, that about wraps up our schedule preview on Arizona State. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this team. Let me know whether you think differently. Thanks all for watching once again. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. If you enjoyed this schedule preview, be sure to slap a like on it. Subscribe as well. It really helps out the channel, and I'd really appreciate that. But once again, thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for more. I will see you all later.